Hey everybody, Tim here with today's episode of Picard, Season 1, Episode 3, The End is the Beginning. So before I even start with this episode, this is my 700th Star Trek video, which is absolutely insane. To think like a year ago, I was like, hey, let's try something new and exciting. And here it is, like I've done way more if you look at like my other reviews and shows and stuff like that. But Star Trek alone, I've talked about 700 times. Like that is absolutely crazy. So thank you. I don't know if anybody's actually watched every single one of them, but for those who have watched them with me and kind of gone through this, I really appreciate it. So thank you a lot. So that being said, Picard, I don't know. I'm kind of struggling with this show a little bit, to be honest with you. So for Discovery, I've kind of said this before, and I'll just say it again. For Discovery, it's a brand new show, and its audience is that new people. So it kind of makes sense the way they do everything. Where like the way society today watches TV, it's like one big story arc. That's fine. It works. Like I don't really care about Discovery anyway, but it works for what Discovery's trying to do. We've never seen Picard in that type of fashion. It's always been episodic. Like Star Trek has always been episodic. And so, like, even if you go back to the original series, like, it was super episodic because it was the 60s, and The Next Generation kind of changed things up, where they do have story arcs, and they do have plot points. I mean, you can go with Q, for example. 7 seasons, he's in 8 episodes. So you kind of have to watch the series to know who he is. I mean, Ryza is a good example. They bring it up a lot. You could even to an extreme, like there's the Klingon character, or not Klingon, the Ferengi character, who his first episode is in season 1, and then his second episode, the sequel to that one, is in season 7. So like 6 full years between this guy's return. So stuff like that. The Next Generation does kind of do a little bit of story arc. Deep Space Nine completely revamped that, where you get 2-part episodes. You get 3-part episodes. You get the final chapter, which is like 9-part episode. So Star Trek has always kind of played with story arcs, but even then, like every episode has a beginning, a middle, and an end, and it works. So Picard the series is not that way. Picard the series, actually, it's 10 episodes and it's one long story. So the whole season is going to have a beginning, it's going to have a middle, and it's going to have an end. This episode, we're 3 episodes into it, we're still in that beginning phase where we're meeting all of these new characters and seeing the return of old characters, but nothing is happening. Like, there's no action. There's, like, it's just plot development. So I'm assuming right around, like, episodes 5 or 6, somewhere in there, that's when it's really going to take off. And then that's when, like, we're going to go, like, oh, what's happening? Right around the climax area. And then, of course, we'll get to season 10, and I guarantee you it's going to end on some big cliffhanger to kind of get us to go to season 2 that we already know is happening. So I don't know. I'm just not used to seeing Picard in that fashion because 3 episodes and nothing has happened. Like, so little. And it's just like, new character, new character, new character, new character. And it's like, okay, we get it. There's a bunch of new characters. We don't need an episode, 3 episodes. You can already tell by the next episode's trailer. We don't need 4 episodes of just meeting these new people. It just get on with it. We get it. So, to kind of go through the plot points, like 14 years ago, we're still talking about Mars is burning. I really did like the uniforms, though. Like, those are my favorite new uniforms that we've seen in Picard, which makes sense that they, like, change it up quite a bit. But still, like, I really like that one. We meet Raffi. We saw her a little bit last episode, but now we actually know who she is. And Picard's, like, big bluff, where I loved in the first episode when Picard is like, this is no longer Starfleet. And then it looks like he's like, fuck you, and storms out. Like, it worked. And then you get to this episode, and you turns out he's bluffing. He's just like, either help the Romulans or accept my resignation. And they're like, okay, bye. And he's like, oh shit, like, they called me on that. And to me, that actually brings it down a little bit. Like, I would prefer the badass Picard to just be like, fuck you guys, this is not what I signed up for, and have him leave, rather than trying to bluff Starfleet and then call him out on it. Like, that to me lowered the whole, like, the power behind his resignation. So that kind of bothered me. We meet Captain Rios and his EMH, which I love how the EMH is so starstruck and going down like Picard's resume, where he's like, he talked to the Q Continuum. He helped delegate with the Klingons. He was there for Wolf 359. He saved the Earth from the Borg. He was the captain of the Enterprise D and E. Okay, they haven't talked about the Enterprise F, so you know it's around there somewhere. So I'm kind of curious where that's going to go. So, again, a brand new character, Captain Rios. We'll see how that goes. So now, I mean, who do we have? We have Agnes, we have Rios, we have Raffi, technically the Romulan, like, house people, but they're not going on the mission, so I think we're just at the 3 for his new crew right now. Jonathan Del Arco returns as Hugh. As soon as he walked in, I got really giddy. Like, I'm not going to lie. And that's kind of what I've been avoiding for this whole series. Because I guarantee you, so many people are just watching this and they're just like, oh my god, it's Patrick Stewart. And they're freaking out without looking at, like, actual plot details, if it makes sense. When Hugh walked in, I did it. I was like, oh my god, it's Hugh. And he spoke, and he still has kind of the Hugh voice. And I was like, this is great. And then I was like, what is this? Like, it doesn't explain anything. How he's just kind of in charge of the Borg and stuff. Soji, the twin, like, questions the Romulan Borg. Okay, like, what's going on? Like, we need more for that. That's what I want to know about. She calls her mom, and I talked about it in the first episode, when Daj calls her mom, and it's really weird. She's like, you need to find Picard. And it's like, okay, and then she, like, mind wipes and goes. Like, when Soji calls her mom, she's like, oh, Daj is fine. Like, so there's something going on with the mom. Like, she's clearly, like, a fake AI. Like, maybe it's Data in disguise or something. So I'm not sure what's going on with the mom. I'm kind of curious to see what other people's theories are. When the Romulans break into Picard's chateau, I was like, shit. And this is the first time we've seen the 2 Romulans he lives with really go badass. It worked for me. Like, seeing them, like, finally, like, re-engage, I was like, yes. Like, that's what we knew they were, like, undercover, like, secret agents that were, like, retired, and they're, like, Picard's bodyguards rather than just his butler and his maid. But to actually finally see them go was pretty amazing. I really, really liked it. And then finally, the ending just did not do it for me at all. I'm not going to lie. It was pure nostalgia, just like the first episode. Seeing the Picard banner, you see the Picard Day banner, and you're like, oh, I remember that. That's adorable. Why the fuck is it up there? Like, it didn't make sense. When he's like, engage, and you hear the Next Generation music in the background, and you're just like, oh, like, you're purely 100% just playing for nostalgia right there. Like, I liked it more when he, like, the Captain Rios is like, take a seat, and he looks at the captain's chair and then goes around it and sits somewhere else. That I liked. That worked for me. Having Picard say engage, like, it should have been the exact same thing. Rios should have been like almost a reenactment of Generations, where Alan Ruck's character keeps like, oh, Captain Kirk, say like, take us out. No, I'm good. Like, that's what I wanted. I wanted him to be like, Picard, you want to engage? And he's like, nope. I did it. I'm fine. You do your thing. You're the captain. That's what I wanted. Like, him to, like, and I don't know, even Patrick Stewart, where he says engage. We saw it in the trailers and everything. It's just so, like, even Patrick Stewart's laughing. Like, what is this? And then with the music, like, triumphing in the background, it's like, oh, yeah, we get it. There was a whole series before this one. Stop. Just stop going off of those feelings and just do your own show. Like, let's just... We meet the new characters and we go. Like, it's so drawn out so far that, like, every episode, I'm just like, okay, we get it. And, like, how many flashbacks do we need of Mars burning? All you had to do is say, hey, there was a synth attack. Mars is still on fire after 14 years. That's fine. We don't need a flashback every single episode. But, I don't know. I know I'm complaining a lot. I am enjoying the series. I do like it. but I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Like, I am going to view this analytical and critique it when it needs it. So these are just kind of my thoughts watching it. I'm curious to see what you guys think. Go ahead, let me know, and I'll see you guys next week for Absolute Candor.